Hello, everyone. Welcome to our research highlight video for March 2025. My name is Claire McLean, and I'm very excited to share this really awesome article. We have been doing this research highlight for a few months now, but there are so many research studies and review papers that have such great information that I think are really motivating and exciting to read, to help you want to exercise on a daily basis and push yourself and try new things and do different things and get into that aerobic zone. So this is one of those great articles that I think really can do that. I am going to share my screen. And one thing that is great about this article is it is available free full text. So when you want to read research, we're not always able to get access to the full text of articles that has all the details when they're published in journals. Sometimes you have to pay for those articles, and so you can't read the whole thing. You can just read an abstract. This is an article that is available free, so you can read the whole thing. The title of the article is Exercise Enhanced Neuroplasticity Targeting Motor and Cognitive Circuitry in Parkinson's Disease. So if you put in that title, right up here, the article comes up. Petzinger is the first author. And then if you look over here, you see, okay, in the Lancet, full text article and free full text PMC. So we're going to click on that, and that takes us to the article. Here you can read it online, and it goes through all the sections. Or if you want to download or print, then the best thing to do is to download the PDF. So if you click on that PDF, it opens it in the window, and then you can download that, or you can print this window. And usually it's going to have just the information from the article, not a bunch of other ads or other things on the sides to print out. So this is the best kind of cleanest copy to print. So like I mentioned, the title is Exercise Enhanced Neuroplasticity. That is what we are all about here, targeting both motor and cognitive circuitry. So this is important. Movement and motor symptoms are really important, but so is cognition, cognitive health. And the beauty is we can work on both with the exercise that we do. This is a review article where they look at a lot of different research articles that have been done to kind of formulate an opinion on this is what we should be doing and why. This article was published in 2013. It is not recent, but it is still a very important article. And because we've been doing these research highlights for a relatively short amount of time, there are a lot of articles, even that are older, that we want to share. And so I'm on kind of a streak of highlighting exercise articles because I think those are some of the most important ones for us all to see and know about and read and help us be motivated. Dr. Petzinger is a movement disorders neurologist at the University of Southern California. Dr. Fisher is a physical therapist and professor at the University of Southern California as well. They have done quite a bit of exercise research there, both starting with animals and then translating into working with humans as well, and showing this is it's a type of research called translational, where you show, okay, certain things are true in animal models, which can be a little bit simpler to study. And then what's important though is this true also for humans? And so they are one of the only groups in the world that are doing that translational research, which is really cool. So the abstract, and of course, again, I'm not going to read the whole article. I am going to put the link in so that if you want to download it and read the whole thing, you can, but I'll highlight a couple areas. So the abstract, always good to read. That's where they're telling us, okay, this is what you're going to learn about in more detail if you read the article. The purpose of this review is to highlight the potential role of exercise in promoting neuroplasticity and repair in Parkinson's disease. Exercise interventions in individuals with PD incorporate goal-based motor skill training. So goal-based motor skill training is when we're working on amplitude training, when we're working on balance, mobility, agility, all those different skills of life that we have taken for granted most of our life, but may be affected by Parkinson's. And we want to regain those so you can live your life and do the things you want to do. Get in and out of bed, stand up from a chair, get dressed, go to work, drive a car, go watch your kids or grandkids play sports. We want you to be able to do all those things. And all of those activities in our life are built of functional skills that we have. Are our legs strong enough? Do we have the endurance? Can we navigate on uneven surfaces and up and down curbs and hills and in unfamiliar environments? So those are all skills that can be worked on. Using this exercise, let's see. So I got to start that sentence again. In exercise interventions in individuals with PD incorporate goal-based motor skill training in order to engage cognitive circuitry, important in motor learning. So when you're doing this kind of exercise, it's not just physical. You are engaging your brain and cognitive circuitry. And that is a good thing. We want to engage cognitive circuitry. And like any skill that you learn, the examples that I use a lot are if you've ever learned to play an instrument or learn a language or learn to play a sport. When you first start, you probably aren't great at it, except maybe you have some natural skill. But most of us, when we're learning something new, we're not very good at it. But then if we practice, we get better. Or if we don't practice, we don't get better. I played a lot of instruments when I was younger. I was never great about practicing. I never got very good at them. But then there were some things that I really enjoyed and I spent more time doing, and then I could feel myself develop that skill. So this is what we are trying to do just with skills that you've had all your life, but we're trying to brush up on those skills, make them better, relearn them, utilize potentially a little bit different circuitry in the brain to be able to do those skills well. But that's what it's all based on. But thinking about past experience of sports, languages, things like that really can help us understand what that process is. And it's cognitive. We have to think about it at first. But when you practice with enough repetition, both the frequency throughout the week that you do the exercise and also how much time you spend and how many reps you get in each session, you can get over a threshold where that new movement can become more automatic, or the movement that you had before, we can make it bigger and better, and it can get to the point where it is more automatic again. Using this exercise approach, physical therapy facilitates learning through instruction and feedback, reinforcement, and encouragement to perform beyond self-perceived capability. That's one of the keys with exercise, is that you've got to work a little bit harder than what feels comfortable. And this, again, in all sport is true. Football players, Olympic athletes, gymnasts, don't get to the top of their field by just doing what feels comfortable. They have coaches that are helping them push and do a little bit more and try new things and, finesse what they're doing and build strength and balance and endurance and all of those things. So this isn't something that is only true for people with Parkinson's. This is something that is true for all of us. All of us, if we want to get better or stronger, we have to try new and different things and push ourselves beyond our comfort levels, our current comfort levels. Individuals with PD become more cognitively engaged with the practice and learning of movements and skills that were previously automatic and unconscious. Studies that have incorporated both goal-based training and aerobic exercise have supported the potential for improving both cognitive and automatic components of motor control. Utilizing animal models, basic research is beginning to reveal exercise-induced effects on neuroplasticity. Since neuroplasticity occurs at the level of circuits and synaptic connections, we examine the effects of exercise from this perspective. So in general, exercise is really good to bring blood flow up to the brain. But then once the blood is there with those nutrients, there's so much happening at the cellular level, at the level of synapses, which is cells connecting to each other. So it's pretty cool to hear the background in science and why exercise is so helpful. So they talk about, they have an introduction and talk about what kind of the motor problem is in Parkinson's, quite a bit there. Exercise in Parkinson's disease, talking specifically about goal-based exercise where you're trying to do something different, better. Examples, treadmill training. So you could just walk on a treadmill and not try to do anything skilled, but it inherently there is some skill to it. But especially when you walk on the treadmill and you focus on having tall posture and taking big steps and maybe taking your hands off and letting your arms swing, it becomes more and more skilled, and especially depending on the person. In some cases, you might be regaining a skill, or in some cases, if your walking is pretty good, you are maintaining that skill. Amplitude training, our power moves, LSVT big, things like Tai Chi, tango dancing, boxing, and forced cycling. These are examples of skilled exercise. Cycling is another one. If you just sit on a bike and just kind of let your legs move, whatever pacing feels comfortable, that is not necessarily very skilled. But forced cycling, where you have specific goals and targets of RPMs and speeds that you are trying to attain, and you do intervals going back and forth, and you go faster and slower and add hills and resistance and things like that, it becomes more skilled. And then it's also aerobic, hopefully at the same time. So there are some forms of exercise like Tai Chi that's quite skilled, doesn't tend to be aerobic. Then sitting on a recumbent bike, with heavy resistance, pedaling at a slow speed could get your heart rate up, but it's not very skilled. And then there's some exercises like boxing, high intensity interval training, treadmill training, and cycling that can be skilled depending on how you do them. And then they can be aerobic and skilled at the same time, which is kind of the ideal scenario. So you're getting in both types of exercise. So they talk about goal-based exercise, goal-based plus aerobic exercise. That is what we are going for. The fact that you can develop more automaticity with your movements, it's good to know that that is possible. If you haven't experienced that type of benefit yet, you may not be doing the right type of exercise, or it might be that you're not getting enough repetitions in within a session, or you might not be doing enough frequency throughout the week. The dosage really matters for exercise, just like it does for medication. If you take too little medication, it doesn't work. Too much medication is not a good thing. Exercise, same thing. Too little, you're not going to experience the benefits. There is such a thing as doing too much. Most of us are not doing too much exercise, but it is possible too. So if you're someone who's exercising 3 hours a day, check in and see, is that the right amount to be doing? And anyone doing somewhere between 30 minutes to 2 hours is probably doing a good amount of exercise as long as you're feeling good and recovering from your workouts. A lot more data there, looking at all, reviewing and talking about different studies and what they found. Exciting work. But if I read all of this, this would be like a 2-hour phone call or 2-hour Zoom call probably. They talk about some exercise studies that are in animal models of Parkinson's and the effect on neuroprotection. So we are hoping to protect your brain wherever you're at now. We want to protect your brain from further loss of dopamine producing cells and maintain strong connections in your brain. And also, ideally, we are looking for some neurorestoration where we actually see improvements as well. But even if all exercise did was protect the brain from further problems, that would be pretty good too. So they talk about what can be done for neuroprotection, effects of exercise on neurorestoration. And these are the types of things that can be controlled a little bit more when they do animal research, as opposed to in humans. There is some data showing that exercise in midlife reduces your risk of getting Parkinson's. So that's kind of the most helpful research in humans, showing that there probably is some neuroprotection occurring. And then most studies of humans who already are living with Parkinson's, exercising, those are looking at the restoration. Effects of exercise on dendritic spine. So looking really in depth into cells in our brain. The effects of exercise on brain health, exercise and blood flow. These are all the things that we love and are excited about when we're exercising, like this is what it is doing for me. Exercise in the immune system, extremely important for our overall health and for our brain. Exercise and neurogenesis, the potential to actually make new neurons in our brain, also very exciting. Overall conclusions and impact on clinical care. Well, you know what? This is interesting because there are some images that I'm not, oh, there we go. Okay. In this PDF version, in mine, the images are the other article that I had already downloaded on my computer. The images were embedded in the paper as they went through. Here it looks like they're down at the end. So these images, complex, basically showing this is like a cut through our brain, and it's showing that movement that we do is both under volitional or cognitive control. We choose to do something. I want to reach and pick something up, or automatic, where I'm walking around, I'm drinking, I'm swallowing, doing all these things without really thinking about what I'm doing. So it's very complex in terms of how our brain functions for movement. So that image shows that. This image shows the different pathways that are involved in exercise when there's neuroprotection and exercise and neurorestoration. So in the animal models, they have shown, basically they take mice and they inject a toxin into their brain. Usually it takes a few days for that toxin to take effect and cause the mice to have the symptoms of Parkinson's. What they have found is when they start exercising immediately after they are exposed to that toxin, their brain, the exercise is actually protective and they are less likely to develop the symptoms of Parkinson's. So that is very exciting. And that is why exercise in midlife and early in Parkinson's is really important. We can protect our brain over time. And then they've also done studies where they inject the mice with the toxin. They give them a week or so, allow that toxin to be taken up. The mice now have symptoms of Parkinson's, and then they start exercising them, and then they're able to show neurorestoration. So they talk more in depth with that. This Figure is one of my favorites. It talks about all the different things that can be happening. So with exercise, we want to be doing task practice and aerobic exercise. Those two forms of exercise are very important. Some people may alternate, like with our online membership. Some people do a power moves class and then a cardio class, and they alternate those back and forth. Power moves is the skill-based exercise where you're working on amplitude, you're working on functional mobility, flexibility, balance, all those good things. And then a cardio class is pretty straight aerobic exercise. There is some skill to it. We are asking people on treadmills to stand tall, take nice big steps. On bikes, we're asking them to modulate between different speeds and add resistance. So there is some skill to it, but not as much as in a power moves class that is more focused on skill. So some people will do those types of exercises back and forth every other day and keep them separate. But some people will do a boxing class or high intensity interval training class. It's important to wear a heart rate monitor and know if you are getting into the aerobic zone when that is your goal, to know if it's actually happening. And in like a high intensity interval training class with us, we are doing exercises that are high intensity with the goal to get our heart rate up, keeping them simple, things like squats, jumping jacks, steps. And then we're also working on skilled exercises where we're focusing more on flexibility, balance, agility, mobility, posture, those kinds of skills. And we go back and forth with the goal that in 1 hour of working out, you can get both types of exercise accomplished. What happens when you do that type of exercise at the level of the synapse? There are neurotransmitter release, the receptors get stronger, and there's an increase in dendritic spines. For brain health, there's an increase in trophic factors, blood flow, the immune system functions better. There's the potential for neurogenesis and improved metabolism within the cells. All of this together adds to better functioning circuitry in the basal ganglia, cortex, thalamus, cerebellum, and brainstem, very important parts of our brain. And that leads to improved behavior, motor and cognitive, and also better mood and motivation, which is critically important. A lot of people are physically totally capable of exercising, but don't have the motivation or have anxiety or other things that limit the feeling of like, I'm going to get up and do this. I'm going to work hard and I know I'm going to benefit from it. So a lot of times mood and motivation is the biggest barrier at first. And then unfortunately, if that barrier is there and you're not exercising, then you will likely experience more motor and cognitive symptoms. So we are trying to help people get started as early as possible with exercise, help address those barriers that limit you from being able to exercise, make it fun and interesting, give you a time and a place to commit to, whether you exercise with us in person here at our gym or online with us. We have lots of options. And that's what we are trying to do with our whole program, is take this type of research and implement it in the real world. So I highly recommend, if you're motivated hearing bits of this, that you download this article, read it, highlight it, share it with your neurologist, your doctors, the physical therapists you work with, other people in your life. Let them know this is what the research says. I am trying to follow through and do this. I'd love to have some support from you, whether it's working with someone who challenges you at a high level, whether it's someone who helps you commit and be consistent with the exercise you do. There's lots of ways that people in your life can be supportive. And we do also want to share these kinds of articles with neurologists so that they are aware of the scientific evidence and all the ways that exercise can be beneficial. So they will support people and make recommendations for exercise more and more as well. And we can help everybody's health be improved, keep people active, functional, healthy, enjoying their lives, and having fun while doing it. So thank you for watching this video. I know it was a lot, but hopefully you can rewatch this video if you want to. You could sit down with this article, take some time to go through it, discuss it with someone else. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you next month for another article. Bye.